This MFL Marmac Coach Conversation brought to you by Havlicek Trucking, Birdnow Chevrolet, and Meyer Auto Service. We're with head coach Dan Anderson after a 48-12 win over Durant last Friday night to open up the playoffs. Coach, you got off to that 14-6 lead at the end of the first quarter. Led 27-6 at the halftime break and never looked back. What got it done for you last Friday?
I think our kids executed well in all phases of the game, but I really thought that our offense played well. We punted once. It was the first series of the game, and after that, we never punted after that. We played really good. The kids, I thought, did a nice job picking up the blitz because Durant brings a lot of pressure. We look at each team on film and coming in, and we have to decide on if they're, a team that reads more, or if they're just an attacking defense, and these guys were definitely an attacking style defense and blitzing a lot. So got to give a lot of credit to Coach Converse, one of our coaches that works with our scout team. He really did a nice job of getting our scout teamers ready. And I tell you what, if you want to be successful, you have to have a good scout team. So those guys don't get the credit that they deserve. A lot of those sophomores and juniors that don't get a lot of playing time on Friday nights. But they're very important in our wins, and so I was very happy with those guys and their effort all week long, and I just thought that our offense was clicking, and we were able to get the ball to a lot of different guys, and our team is not a one-man show. We can get the ball to a lot of different guys, and it was Decker's night. Carter Decker had 4 carries for 154 yards and 4 touchdowns. So every time we handed him the ball, it went for a score, and they were all on counters.
Dare I say, is that good?
Yeah, we'll take that. If you can go 4 for 4 or 4 touchdowns, we'll do that. People would probably say, why didn't you hand him the ball more? But, we try to spread it out a little bit. And, hey, a lot of that goes to those linemen up front. They were ripping open some big holes. Awesome. We've got a few of those clips on Huddle where we can show, teams and kids in the future, this is how you block counter. This is how you pull and kick a guy out and lead through the hole. We saw, Aiden Schulte, our power tackle, a sophomore. He's a big kid, 6'3", 315. He was pulling on that, and he just completely, decleated a defensive end on Durant's team. And I saw something go flying in the air. I thought it was part of his, helmet or something. It was his mouthpiece went flying about 10 yards or 10 feet in the air. I mean, Aiden really put a hammer on that guy. So I like seeing that really physical play, and our guys played physical on Friday night.
And you talked about the challenge of facing a guy like Nolan DeLong last week. He ended up with 194 yards and a couple of scores, but seemingly you limited the explosive plays from him. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, exactly right, Darren. It's, when a guy carries the ball 34 times, he's going to get some yards, especially when he's a D1 athlete. He plays running back for him, but he also would play some Wildcat quarterback. So in the beginning of the second quarter, we actually knocked out their starting quarterback out of the game with a shoulder injury. And so after that, Nolan was playing quarterback the whole game. So, I already have enough gray hair in my face and my beard and my hair. But, when they're snapping the ball at him every single play and he can run it or he can throw it, that makes you pretty nervous. I was holding my breath the whole game. And, it takes more than one guy to bring a guy down like that. And so we had to gang tackle, and, our guys did a fine job. 194 yards is by far the most yards we've given up to any team rushing the ball all year. But again, he had, 34 carries, and it was about a 5.1 average. And against a guy that talented, that big, fast, and the fact that we also had to watch out throwing the ball, he could buy himself some time back there. And the thing is, he also threw the ball 23 times, but I think he only had 6 completions, and we had 2 interceptions. So we were able to limit the passing game, and so I was really pleased with our defense.
And piggyback on that, you had 7 tackles for a loss, you had 4 sacks, and you mentioned the 2 turnovers. When you were able to put teams in such negative situations through those statistics, that just kind of snowballs in a positive direction, correct?
Correct. At the beginning of the game, they scored first, and I knew we're going to be in for a game here, and they gave us their best shot right away, and then we went right down and scored on them, and once we got it figured out after this first series, every time we had the ball, we were scoring, and they weren't, and so every time we were putting a touchdown on the board, we were pulling further ahead, and they aren't a real powerful passing team, especially with their quarterback getting knocked out in the second quarter. Now, Nolan DeLong is their best chance to score touchdowns, and he'd scored a couple on us. But again, we didn't give him any big plays. I think his longest run was maybe 18 yards. And so it wasn't like we were giving him 60 and 70-yard runs. When they did score their 2 touchdowns, they had to earn every inch that they got. And so, and then we get the ball back and we scored right away. And then we were able to hold them on a few series, get a couple turnovers, and just kept scoring. And eventually we were able to wear him down. You could definitely see there in the fourth quarter.
And Dike New Hartford will be your opponent this week. Another home game in the playoffs for you guys. What have you been able to surmise about the Wolverines?
They're a great football program. Coach Don Betts has been there, I think, about 16 or 17 years. They've been to the playoffs 13 straight years. They've been to the semifinals or the finals multiple times. You can watch on film. I've coached long enough that it doesn't take me long to tell a well-coached team on film. They don't make very many mistakes. If you're going to beat a Dike New Hartford, you have to beat them because they aren't going to beat themselves. They're not going to have turnovers or very many. They're not going to have many penalties. Their kids play with extreme, intensity all the time. They get off the ball quick. They have good pad level. They've got a 6'5" quarterback that's 220 pounds and got a strong arm. They've got a receiver that's in the top 5 in the state receiving. They've got a linebacker that's leading the whole state of Iowa in tackles. And they've got a 350-pound nose guard that eats up blockers and hard to move. And so they definitely present some problems. But we have a good game plan, and we've got a really good football team too. They've got 2 losses, so they are a beatable team. But they're probably going to be the toughest opponent, if not one of the toughest opponents we've had all year.
And that's the way it should be this time of year, correct?
Right. I mean, you're in the playoffs. You're in the second round of the playoffs. I mean, it started with 32 teams. Last week, it eliminated down to, it's cut in half each week. Now we're down to 16. 16 of the best teams. You can't expect to find anybody left. And I think in 1A, every team left in the state of Iowa is a 1 or a 2 seed. So there's no teams that are even a Cinderella story. It's all the good teams that are left. And so no matter who you're going to get now, it's going to be a team that's probably 7-2 or better, and that's what we've got. We're 8-1. They're 7-2, and they got to come to our place. And, Monona's a tough place to play. We've got great fans and great, fan base that are loud, and we've got a pretty good record on our home field. But, anybody that's going to come to this game on Friday night, just understand that it's not going to be a 48-12 game like last Friday night. It's going to be a close one. It's going to be a 4-quarter game. But if our kids don't have the mistakes and we play like we've been playing, I believe we got a really good chance to win.
All right, Coach, ought to be a fun ball game Friday night. Here's hoping we can talk about another Bulldog victory and have another conversation next week. Keep your guys healthy. We wish you best of luck.
All right. Thanks, Darren. Appreciate it.
Dan Anderson, head coach of the MFL Marmac Bulldogs. The conversation brought to you by Havlicek Trucking, Meyer Auto Service, and Birdnow Chevrolet.